Hello and welcome to this new edition of the Foojay Podcast. Today, the virtual JUG World Tour brings us to Brazil.
Welcome to the Foojay Podcast, all your news about OpenJDK.
Once a month, I virtually visit a JUG and talk to the people behind it. SouJava, the Brazil JUG, was founded in 1999, and on Wikipedia I learned it's recognized as the world's largest Java user group with 40,000 members. I'm sure there's a lot we can learn from the people who achieved this.
My name is Maximillian. I'm from Brazil, São Paulo. I work with Java since 2003, and I have been working with Java in a couple companies. I love this language, and I made SouJava in 2014, if I'm not wrong. Since then, I have been following both friends that we got today, and I love to help community on this way. So that's I am.
Hello everyone, glad to be here with this amazing Brazilian friends. My name is Otavio Santana. I'm distinguished engineer in company. Most of the time I do a lot of open source. That includes with Java itself, Jakarta E specifications, and so on. Right now, I decided to create my projects to help people to achieve the ultimate of stage of software certification, exploring the open source world and the best practice around open source.
Hey, hello everyone. Hey Frank, thanks a lot, man, for this interview. Hey Otavio, hey Max, and hello everyone that's watching and listen to this. I think that when we work together like we're doing here right now and with communities, especially on local user groups, right? That's a great way for you to improve your career, for you to achieve the level that those guys here are achieving, right? Because everyone here is started as, participating in communities and sharing with other people. And I think that's what we're going to discuss here, right? So how can you do this things for your career? That's what I do. My name is Bruno Souza, and I help you guys grow your career and become amazing developers.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for joining. I'm Frank Delporte. I'm a technical writer at Azul, and I'm making these podcasts out of personal interest. I'm very interested in what's happening in the Java world and how everything evolved in this long history. Talking about long history, so I already said SouJava exists a long time already. Can you tell a bit about the history?
Maybe that's for me, right? Because I was there when it started, right? And I think that one interesting thing that you said, Frank, is about how great it is for us to be together, right? And the long history of the Java technology. And I think that when Java started in 1995, right, that became public for the first time, one of the cool things that Java had was the whole notion of, having the code available, right? And everything available being discussed on the main list, and anyone could participate, anyone could download the source code. And that sparked this whole notion that, we should just kind of join together, right? There's some other technologies before that had user groups, but I think that Java really started from the scratch, right? With the whole notion of communities together. And so when we got together to build SouJava in 1998, 1999, actually, it was the culmination of an effort. So Sun did an effort here in Brazil called the Internet Associate Program, IAP. And that brought together, about 100 companies that spent for a couple of years discussing Java and how to apply Java and everything. And of course, as you know this, the group kind of it started with 100 people, and then it reduced it to a small group of people that actually became very good friends. And that was the group of people that said, this can't stop, right? It's so cool that we can meet, we can work together, we can think about that, we can discuss technology. So how can we continue this forward, right? And that's when this guy that was the first president of SouJava, Einar Salkas, came with this idea of saying, we should do a user group, right? There's other user groups and other technologies. And then we started, the SouJava, the Java user group, the Java user society, right? That's what the name means. And we started that. And we had this interesting thing in the beginning because Sun said, yeah, we're going to sponsor you guys, right? And so they gave us enough budget for us to make 100 hats, right? So with the Java logo, it's the SouJava logo. It's not even the Java logo, the SouJava logo. And then we said, yes, we're going to do we're going to get 100 people. It's going to be amazing, right? And then we had 3,000 people to sign up in the first week, right?
Wow.
And so that's so we never gave away the hats because we didn't have enough money for it. It was really humbling to see how many people really wanted to discuss technology and really participate. And that's how we started. Several years later, we decided to be incorporated, right? Because there's things that you can only do when you're an entity. Like, for example, SouJava participated in the JCP, the Java Community Process, and several other organizations. And so in Brazil, it's a little expensive and complicated to be incorporated. And so we decided to not do this alone, right? So we merged with 4 other user groups, right? So SouJava was a national group, but at the same time had more presence in São Paulo. And so we merged with a user group close by in Campinas, the Java Campinas user group, and then a user group in Rio, that's called the Java Petrópolis user group, and then a user group in the capital of Brazil, Brasilia, is called the Brasilia Java Community, and then a user group in Belém, right? It's like, all the way to the north of the country called JUG, right? So we all those 5 groups merged together, and that's how we became like an incorporated, the Brazilian Java User Society.
So actually, SouJava is an organization for the whole of Brazil, but you have local organizations across the country, correct?
Yeah. So because we merge with those groups, right? So many people ask us, oh, can we open a subsidiary of SouJava in other cities? We want user groups to be independent, right? But because those 5 user groups were merged together to become SouJava, that's how we became. Yes, but SouJava was always a national user group because although we had physical meetings in São Paulo, we started on the internet, right? We started with mailing lists and websites and things like that. So it was always a national effort.
I also read, my Portuguese is very bad, that SouJava is actually a little wordplay. It actually means I am Java, correct?
Yes. So it is Society of Users Java, right? That's the official name, but also so is I am in Portuguese, right? So SouJava also means I am Java, yes.
Okay. I'm learning new languages at the same time of doing these podcasts. You mentioned in the introduction that you all do also open source project that you're involved in those. Can you mention a few of these projects that you're involved in? Maybe people will recognize you not as someone from the JUG, but maybe from one of these projects.
Okay, I do a lot of open source. I am at the Eclipse Foundation with Jakarta, Eclipse GenoCycle, MicroProfile. I do some Apache projects from the Apache Foundation that I also helped on the OpenJDK. I still executive member of the JCP since Java 8.
That's a long list.
A long list, I know.
And do you think that working on these open source projects is anyhow related to what you do for the JUG in one way or the other?
Yes, directly, especially because our good friend who is here always say that we need to share what we know to impact our career and move our career to the next level. If you write amazing code, but nobody knows that we're able to, it's like useless, right? Our success is usually related to somebody else's success. I mean, if you create an amazing tool, like an open source product, you need to make sure to share what you know to help those people with this open source product. I mean, Lambda is useful because the Java developer knows how to use Lambda. Record is useful because the Java developers knows how to use record feature. So it's also happened with the open source world. I mean, both are tied It's impossible to get away of this integration. We also can relate that with your career itself, because inside the organization, you need to sell your idea, you need to have the communication and combine both your technical skill with the communication skill. If you do a right code, but nobody's able to understand what your ideas, your thoughts, or your proposal, something might be wrong. I saw last week from another person who does a lot of open source, and he said that good engineers usually write very well on both way, writing code and write documentation. I mean, the code is one way to communicate between people, machine, and to achieve any kind of results.
When you do those things not alone, right, but you do together in a group, it makes the whole effort so much more interesting, and it grows so much more, right? So, because Otavio is participating on many open source projects, he could just be doing this by himself, but he brings a lot of this into the user group, right? So actually, SouJava, it's participates in a lot of initiatives. So Otavio has help, has support from other people. He works together with other people in the user group. So actually, we can do more, right? Because each person kind of brings in, and we have such a good examples of that, right? When lots of people want to do their things on their own, but what we try to do is that we bring things into the user group, right? Because the user group grows, the person grows, the initiatives it has much more impact and reach a lot more people. So when you see, for example, when Max comes here, and because I think Max is the youngest one in the group from the three of us here, right? So when Max came and does things for the user group, right? He grows a lot in his career. He has more visibility, but the user group also grows, right? And so, and that's how we do the JCP, for example, right? It's not just like, it's not Bruno or Otavio, right? We just had the participation of SouJava in Singapore, and so it was our representative that is in Europe, right? It's Rafael that travel to Singapore to be there, right? So because we do things together, right? Because we do things in a group, the whole group grows a lot more, and the initiative is a lot stronger. So that's why I'd like to invite everyone here to do the same thing, right? So look, instead of just trying, I'm going to do my YouTube channel, or I'm going to do my presentation, I'm going to do, just join your local user group, right? So you're going to grow way more. It's going to be much, much more visible. They were going to grow a lot more, right? Because that's going to be a group initiative, and other people are going to get involved, right? So Max, for example, right, Max, when you start, Max starts to participate, just, let me help a little bit. And today he runs a user group.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us more about that?
Interesting. When I met those people, I get started to be involved because, I got start to feel in my career on the time that, I'm stuck. I need to improve my career. And the first thing that I thought was, I need to find out a JUG in order to realize what I'm missing on these years. We know that Java, since to move it to Oracle, to getting start to be open source, and the cadence just grow up, we know that everything is running so fast, and I get to start to find out someone to help me, and so Java helped me a lot with that. And it was interesting because when I get started to help, so Java, we have I have been needed to organize an event in SouJava called this SouJava's Line Talks, and I asked help to Bruno Elder Moraes. It's another friend of us in SouJava, and it was very interesting because they gave me a great opportunity to develop this kind of skill, and it was a success for me. It's changed my life, the way that I conduct my career. It was a game changer for me, and so since then I realized, oh God, what I missed to be joining a JUG before, why I did it. I'm the youngest one on this on SouJava. I like to listen stories about that, so I bring back to Bruno to get his.
An interesting thing, Max, that you start by participating on doing the SouJava Lightning talks, right? So you organize the speakers, you organize the events, and one interesting thing that we see a lot, right, when you're trying to get involved with user groups, that people just say, I want to do this, right? I want to do this code in the project, or I want to do this initiative, right? And a lot of times, all you need to do is say, guys, I'm here, I'm willing to help, right? Raise your hands and say, I'm willing to help in whatever you guys need, right? Because that's what Max did. Say, I'd like to help, right? So how can I help? And in the end, he run the whole initiative, right? And so people in the user groups, they usually have lots of things to do, right? And they have lots of ideas of the things that they want to done. And so when someone that no one knows about, so you, for example, that listen to us here, you want to participate, and you tell, I want to do this, right? So people are like, why, right? Why, who are you? I don't even know who you are, right? So how can you just want to do things? But if the other way around, right? If you just say, look, I'm here to help, right? Whatever you guys are trying to do, I'm here to help. Then you join the group, they're doing things, right? And then once you join the group, they're doing things, then your ideas, the things that you want to do, is going to be way more interesting and respected, and because people see the value that you're bringing to the group, right? So that's what Max did, right? So he said, I'm here, I can help, whatever you guys need, right? And then he started with a small thing, right? It was just like a 1 hour thing, right, Max? But he met several speakers. He went on and got lots of people involved, and then later on, right? Then you can do more and more.
We subestimate the power of do something, a small step every single day. How far you can go if you do a single step every single day. And the people who contribute or any kind of things like that, like community, like open source products, and so on, they usually have a huge impact in their career. Even with that, that's still small people doing that. If you take a look, for example, Java has more than millions of people who are coding Java, who is a Java developer. However, the number of contributions inside the JVM is still a few. I mean, less than 1% of the people who are using Java contribute directly to the JVM itself. And it's also happened with Spring Framework, with Jakarta, with microprofile, and so on. Subestimate the power of, okay, let's today spend 15 minutes reading the documentation, and tomorrow more 15 minutes, and so on. I mean, after 1 month, you are able to read the whole documentation of any kind of open source project that you probably are using on production right now, because the majority of the enterprise are using any kind of open source, right? And even that, people usually don't do that because they want to do like 4 hours and get results right now, but it's not the way that happened. The career is a long-term support, like helping community. The impact is also a long-term support.
That's a marathon, right? Career and user groups are, right?
Exactly.
It's not a sprint, right? So one thing that Frank said in the very beginning, he said, oh yeah, SouJava has been around for a long time. And that is what I see in terms of the user groups, right? The user groups there exist for a long time, right? They become more influential, they become more important, right? They help more people, and just because they're there for a long time. And in our careers like this too, right? So the fact that you are showing up, that you are there for a long time, makes all the difference, right?
You mentioned open source projects. Stepping into an open source project, a lot of people think that's a big thing, but actually just proposing a change or an improvement in documentation, for instance, is already a step into open source development, and that you join a project. Those are not that difficult to do, and most projects have these issues good for a starter or a good first issue, some stuff like that. So joining an open source project is indeed simpler than most people think. And I assume that all the JUGs worldwide would be happy with any volunteer showing up to help the organization, or like you did, Max, with the lightning talks. We had the same idea in Belgium, but it's pretty hard to find the initial first speakers, the new people that want to join. I think once we have a few of them, then that will go more fluently. But I guess, Max, that was not that easy. Lightning talks, are they always from new people or also experienced people doing a short talk, for instance?
What I did, first of all, let me give me a overview about this history, because it's very interesting. Because I follow some people in Twitter, Java developers in Twitter. One of them is Rodrigo Graciano. Rodrigo Graciano is a New York JUG SIG leader, if I'm not wrong. He also is a Java champion, and I saw he's promoting a lightning talk in his JUG, and I thought to myself, oh, I'd like to get started to speak on something like that. And I talked to him, and he told me, oh, Max, so sorry, we are focused on locally people in New York, and for this time we are not able to accept your proposal. And I thought to myself, why we don't do this same thing in Brazil in SouJava and in our JUG? And I bring this idea and to Elder. Elder is my mentor. Mentor is something that we can talk more about that, because it's very interesting community. Bring us mentors, a lot of mentors, and I got a lot of mentors. Bruno Souza, Otavio Santana are my mentors as well. And I bring this idea, and Elder said, Max, if you want to do this, let's do this. And the first thing that I need to care about is the speakers. And I use the community to do that. I try to find out people that wants to get started. And I assume that it was very hard to do this, but well, we need to get consistency. We need to keep going, believe in yourself. And I think it helped me a lot with that. And we got the opportunity to fill the whole agenda of the event. We was able to manipulate those things in a good way. And well, it was my first event. And since then, we did another edition as well. I'm always to find out to help the community with this kind of movement. It was amazing, because I realized that there are more than develop software in a community. You will grow up your career, you'll grow up your technical skills, but the soft skills is very important too. And this is the way that I'm used to improve my career. And I recommend to anyone that is listening us right now to pay attention to this movement, because sometimes we underestimate this kind of powerful that we can get from JUGs. And I must thank you, because SouJava gave me opportunity to talk to you, Frank, to be joining us right here. And this is the concrete thing that we can make you believe in this movement. So. That's it.
Maybe that's one of the single things that we can thank COVID for, is that we got more connected than ever. During COVID, there were a lot of virtual talks, which would have never happened before, I think. So maybe that's the only good thing that came out of it, that people are really, really more connected, and online conferences are now also more accepted.
Yeah, that's for sure, right? No problem. The online words become way more interesting and more connected, and I think that's great, right? The other side of that is that it reduces a lot the in-person meetings, right? And I think it is something a little bit more complicated, because I love the online conferences, and many times we are able to not only have the speakers, but we can also have a conversation. But most of the time, right, the online things are done without much interaction with the audience, right? So, you have like a YouTube video, you're just streaming things, people just talking on the chat. There's less connection between people, right? And so when you do in-person things, it's a lot easier for people to, for you to have impromptu conversations. You meet new people. So one of the efforts that we're doing, actually, me and Otavio are going to even travel to Europe pretty soon now. One of the efforts we're trying to do is actually restart this movement of of user groups having in-person meetings and having in-person conversations, right? So it's not sometimes not so easy, right? I think me and Otavio are probably some of the world globetrotters in that regard, because we visit so many user groups, right, Otavio? And so we just did that last year here in Brazil, where we visit about around 30 schools and several user groups along the way, in universities, where we're actually going to actually meet people in different cities and different places. We took a group that travel about 10 days to several cities in the interior of the São Paulo state, right? So that was a very interesting SouJava initiative, and we're going to do this again right now in Europe, right? We tried to do in the US around Java 1, but it was a little complicated because still hard. User groups are still trying to return, and now we're going to do in Europe to see if we can get that. I think that the online part is very important, right? It brings more people, reach out people that couldn't come, reach out people in different places. Lots of people can't actually, move to an in-person thing, but at the same time, one of the biggest strength that user groups have is the face-to-face meetings, is meeting people and seeing how things are going in your region, in your city, and finding people that you can actually go have a beer with, or go share a coffee in the middle of the afternoon somewhere near the office or something like this. So these relationships, right, are also very important, and we should not ignore them.
I think that's the strongest part of a JUG, that sometimes a talk at a JUG becomes a group opportunity, that you really have the presenter showing something, but it's so new that the presentation doesn't go as expected, and then you have people joining from the audience to help the speaker to fix the problem. So that's, I think, are the best JUGs, when the speaker and the audience interact, and that can only happen, of course, if you're in the same room. That's true. And if the audience is not that big, which you mostly have in a JUG, I think that's still a difference with the conference. If you have a conference in a very big room with a lot of people, you don't get into this interaction level that easily.
And there's another thing that happens, right? Is that when you're there and you are able to have a coffee break and talking to people, then you join people to start new things, right? To start new initiatives, to start new conversations, and then to discuss to actually be, that's how user groups start, right? So just like 3-4 people that want to discuss one thing, so we join together, right? And so a lot of projects have started like this, a lot of study groups, and even discussion around the JCP and around the specification of Java. A lot of things start like with just a small group of people having a conversation somewhere, right? So
you all have a long career in as a developer, as a Java developer. You mentioned, Max, that you had a mentor at some point. What are the best ways to improve your career, to grow as a developer?
I used to recommend to developers to look around the open source project that we used to work day by day, because sometimes we use the tools, we use the framework, use those things, but sometimes we face some problem, but we change it to another tool and so on, and instead of trying to solve that thing. And I think that it's a good way to find out to improve your career, because you could improve your critical thinking, and you could develop how can I solve this kind of problem, because you are a solver problem, right? So independent of the language, independent of technology, we need to solve problems. Without solving problems, anyone can hire us, and the company we're not interested in our career, and we cannot improve our career. And based on that, I think that, oh, okay, I got some problem, and why not to solve this one using my skills? And based on that, we can get started a kind of study path, and it can help you to improve your career. It's a way that I used to do. And sometimes I recommend to talk to the people, to talk to your community, talk to the people that probably have facing the same problem like you, and why you cannot do this. Another thing that I think that is expose yourself in a community, as we mentioned before. It's another way to improve your career, to show yourself to the community, because if you no one's know what you know, how can you get the best position? And it's something that I learned a lot with Bruno and Otavio, because without to do those things, how can we find out people that are facing the same problem? We cannot find out. It's a good way to do that. And I used to get the difficulties turn on in opportunities. I think this is a good way to think of. So if you find out a kind of difficulty or maybe a problem, why not to transform this one in an opportunity to learn things? And sometimes we used to, oh, I cannot do this. I will forget it. No, hold on. Maybe this time you are not able to solve it, but hold this one in the backlog. Probably in the future you will get it again. So I used to follow this one, and I'm huge recommend to find out mentors. Mentors are the people that will help you to reach out the position in first faster than before, because when we are trying to find out the path, okay, you will find out by yourself, but you will take a long time to do this alone. Why not to find out mentors? Mentor will help you. Oh, what do you want to do? We want to do something. Let's get a plan to do that. So probably when we are talking to experienced people, you get the best plan to find out, to reach out to your goals. So I really recommend to find out experts in your JUG, trying to find out the best plan to reach out to your goals. So this is the way that I used to recommend to my friends in our community.
Yeah, having a good mentor is definitely important. And I love your idea to look into open source projects, how they are written. You can learn a lot from architecture and how an open source project, a popular project, is not only written, but also how it's managed, how topics are discussed or issues are handled within GitHub or whatever, and see how a project like that is handled. So you can learn a lot from that. That's absolutely true.
Actually, I'm used to contribute with Jakarta NoSQL. This is a project that Otavio is a leader one. I'm sure that I'm learning a lot because I can see how those things work. We can improve our communication skills because, as you mentioned, if you want to contribute with open source, we don't need to do this only for code. We can do that thing just giving a talking about this project or talking about this project. I think this is a good way to find out good engineering people. For example, from the project, I'm able to talk to Elias Nogueira. He's another famous guy that got a lot of experience with Java development. I used to talk to Otavio. Otavio learned, teach me a lot. I was able to talk to another people around the Jakarta development, and I think that when we find out open source is a way to do that. I think okay, it's not at the end point. It's our way to do those things, to get it, that thing. So I think that this is the way. This is the way. And sometimes we are just concerned about the end up of the journey. But the journey is the principal thing that you need to focus on. So I think this is the way.
The journey is more important than the destination, something like that.
Yeah.
Otavio, something you can add there about what you learned during your career and what was most important to evolve?
it's hard to say what's more important, the open source career, especially because my entire career is based in the open source. The communication skill is one thing that we underestimate a lot as software engineer. We usually don't care about the power of the influence and networking, but the open source helped me to say and guide me to say, hey, you need to improve your communication. Also the English. I mean, the biggest open source products does not speak Java, does not speak Kotlin, does not speak C++, C. Those amazing products are speaking English as well. If you are not able to speak English, you'll be automatically kind of out the circuit. Another point is the ability to negotiate, to understand the plans, discussions, the art around politicians in the technical perspective. Of course, the most obvious things around code style, code design, documentation, tests, architecture, the scalability of decisions around open source. But the point is to have a merge between the technical perspective and the communication skills to guide your software, your projects to go to their own unique direction, and especially to explore partners, tools, to focus on the simplicity. So open source help a lot on those. And for me, open source so far is the most mature software development industry. I mean, you can see several products that is more than 25 years old or is able to refactoring if without change or change with enough documentation to keep people using it. Everything that I know comes from the open source, especially the diversity of coding. I was able to learn how the Google people code, how Intel people code, how Red Hat people code, Oracle people had code, and then I learned and then bring to me and combine those and make my style based on several biggest tech industry in the market.
Bruno, on your newsletter, I read, what if I told you that learning every new technology is one of the worst ways to grow your career? What do you mean? Should we all stop learning?
No, I don't think stop learning, right? But I think that the drive for learn everything, right? It's what gets a lot of people stuck and not growing and not really going anywhere, right? Because for you to grow, you have to have a focus, right? You have to go somewhere, right? Otherwise, you're just kind of going crazy. And one interesting thing that's because that's like a catchy phrase, right? Don't learn anything. But the most interesting thing that I ever found is that the moment that you have a focus, that's when you can learn everything that you want, right? Because if you're focused, for example, let's just kind of give an example that lots of people try to do is that you want to work on another country, for example, right? You want to work remotely and maybe work for another country or move to another country. If that's your goal, right? So that's what you want to do. And then you want to focus on, I'm gonna focus on Java technology. That's and then that's all kinds of things that you want to learn and you want to do it and oh, there's AI now and I can do that. Oh, there's machine learning and there's Jakarta EE and then there's all kinds of cloud and DevOps and I need to know all of that, right? But if you find a focus and you say, okay, so I want to work on another country and I want to solve a big problem, right? So, I don't know. I'm going to work. I want to solve big performance problems on high volume finance applications, right? That could be, that might be too specific. And you think, man, but that's so specific, right? I'm not going to be able to learn anything else. I'm just going to focus on this one tiny thing. But in reality, now that you're putting yourself in the market as an expert on, solving performance problem, high volume finance applications, then you can apply DevOps to this. You can apply cloud to this. You can apply artificial intelligence to this. You can apply data science to this. You can apply database. I mean, everything that you learn, you can apply to solve that problem. And that will make you grow a lot. That will make you, the visible person on that area. Big banks and big finance institutions from all over the world, we want you to help them solve this very important, very specific problem that they have, right? And so I think that the moment, when people just try to learn everything, they don't get anywhere. But the moment that you know where you're going to go, then you can learn everything to get you to where you want, right? And I think that gives, for me, Frank, all those things are tools, right? Mm-hmm. The example that I give a lot is that, my house here has a wood ceiling, for example, right? If I have a problem in my ceiling, in my roof, right? And then a guy comes in and say, hey, Bruno, I'm a carpenter. I'm going to fix your roof because I'm a specialist in hammers. I don't want to hire this guy, right? I don't want a specialist in hammers to fix my roof, right? What I want a specialist in roofs, right? They use hammers and use, saws and they have all kinds of different tools to come here and fix the problem that I have, right? And so that's the thing that I think we always have to think, right? Is what is the big problem that we want to solve, right? What is the thing? Because there's nothing more powerful than you choosing the highest problem that you can solve, right? And be responsible for that. It doesn't matter how small that problem is, but if it is the highest one that you can solve, you can go after that one, and then you can go after a not bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, right? So then that's how you grow. And so one thing that I like to call, Frank, is what I call the spiral of growth, right? Every time that you find an interesting problem, right, interesting project that you want to work on, right, that's when you learn more, because then you're doing something real, right? You're not just studying, right? Not just learning, you're actually applying, right? Because that's I think the biggest thing in that phrase that you quote, Frank, is the whole idea of learning. Learning is not what's important, right? What's important is the skills that you have, right? So, when you ask Otavio, for example, you just asked Otavio about the biggest thing, and he's like, open source, right? Because I go and do things, right? When you participate in the user group, you come in here and you do things. You go, you organize a group, you organize an event, you do things, and that gets you skills. So it's not just about learning; it's about applying. So when you have a project, then and you apply things, that's when you really learn. That's when you get skills, right? And so when you're in a project, you get more skills and you grow. And so when you grow, you can solve more problems, and you get a more interesting project. And so if you're a more interesting project, you can learn more things and you grow. So that is what we think as the spiral of growth. So you work on an interesting project, you learn and you apply things, you improve with skills. Because you have better skills, you can work on more interesting projects, and then you grow. But but I see lots of people that work on interesting projects and don't grow. I see lots of people that are learning new things and don't grow. There's a missing link between those two, right? People need to see you as the person responsible to solve a problem, right? So if you don't go and share either an open source project or a presentation or a blog post or a book, whatever it is that you want to do, right? Or even just sharing to your friends. If people don't see you, if you're not visible as the person that solves a problem, then no one is interested in calling you for this amazing project, right? So here is my spiral of growth, that now you learn something, right? And then you share that. And because people see you, they invite you to amazing projects. And because you're applying those things in an amazing project, you learn more things. And then because you learn more things, you have more things to share. And then more people see you and they invite you to more amazing things. And then you learn more, and then you share and you learn and you grow. So that's the spiral of growth, right? So those three things together will really get you very, very far in your career. And again, it's not about learning for learning, right? It's about learning with a purpose, right? Learning, that's what we call deliberate practice, right? Deliberate practice is practicing with a purpose, right? Practicing with a focus. So the moment you have your focus, everything lines up together, and it's a lot easier for you to grow.
Can we agree that a full stack developer is actually not longer possible? There are so many technologies nowadays that being a full stack, meaning you know how to create a user interface, you know how to do DevOps, you know how to deploy services. Is that still possible nowadays?
That depends on what's your focus, right? So for example, if the problem that you solve is you help a founder, or, like an expert, to put their application in the market in 2 weeks so they can get finance for the software, man, can you do that? Can you be the person that listen to a founder that has a little bit of his own money and maybe has like an angel investor in his family that he put a little bit of money on his, and then you can get that and you can implement the whole thing, right? You can implement the front end, the back end, the database, the websites and the lead magnet. You can do the whole thing in 2 weeks and get this guy in front of investors so he can start his own company. Is that a problem to be solved? Man, that's a great problem to solve, right? So yeah, you can totally be a full stack there, right? So again, it depends on what is your focus, what is the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah, I guess it's much easier to find a unicorn or Santa Claus than find a full stack engineer, right? Since while, it's impossible to just one person hold the whole knowledge around IT, computer science, and things like this. Even in the 20 years ago, one person who knows everything around computer, hardware, software, architecture. Everybody has your specialization. It's okay. Right now, we are talking more around T-shaped skill, where you know broadly what's happening in the IT area, and you're able to go deep in one thing and be good on that thing. When Bruno said, the first thing that came out on my mind was the Essentialist book that say the art to focus on something is the art to say no to something else. If you try to do a lot of things, you're not good in everything. So you're gonna fail in every single step, right? It's like a musician. If I decide to learn music this year, and every week I decide to play a different kind of music, the musical instruments, like the first week I go to guitar, and then flute, and then piano, and then so on. At the end of the year, I'm not able to play anything very well. But if I go to the music theory to understand what's going on the music side and then focus only on piano, after 1 year, I'll be able to be a good, at least an average pianist, right? Because I say no to guitar, to violin, to things like this. It's also happened with IT. We have a 1,000 program language. We have over 400 database. We have several deploy strategies. We have several details around Kubernetes and so on. How a single person is able to understand everything around IT? It's impossible. It's much easier to see unicorn and Santa Claus that I said in the beginning.
Yeah, I think being an expert in a certain topic really adds a lot of value then to your career. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, the one thing that I have with that is that when people talk about being an expert, right? They talk about a technology or a tool, right? I want to be an expert on that. And there's value to this, right? So just to get Otavio's example of the musician, right? So if you want to be like, an awesome guitar player, for example, or you want to play in an orchestra, that you have to be amazing in this one instrument. Yeah, it's awesome that you be a specialist on this one instrument, right? But maybe your dream is to teach music to kids, right? And then it's more interesting that you know a little bit of lots of different things, right? So you can engage the kids, you can engage, the families, participating on things. So it all depends on what is the problem that you want to solve. So we are not specialists on tools. We are specialists on problems, right? So I think that once you know the problem that you're trying to find, then you can really go after what you need to do, what you need to learn to solve that particular problem. And if you want to be a specialist in a tool, for example, I want to be a specialist in Java. So go do the Java VM, right? So go build tools, right? Because I do think there are specialists in hammers, but they don't fix my roof. they actually are working on factories that build hammers for millions of people, right? And so so I think that we have to decide, and I think that this is a very it's even in marketing, right? We have this problem because people, when we talk about niche, a niche is not a tool. A niche is a problem, right? So think about what problem you want to solve. Think about what problems you want to be responsible for, and I think that's it's interesting for the user group, for example, right? You know, two of the most active and larger user groups that we have here in Brazil is SouJava and JUG, right? So user group in Brasilia. And it's very, very interesting how those two groups grew. SouJava focus on the professional developer and JUG focus on the beginner developer that wanted to learn, right? So it's very interesting that our story is very parallel. Those two user groups that worked together in lots and lots of initiatives throughout the years, right? And JUG really became, actually, the founder of JUG, Daniel de Oliveira, passed away a few years ago. But Daniel was adamant on helping people to learn Java, right? To be beginners, right? So he wrote books. He created, the whole user group participated on that. He created courses, and all focus on teaching Java for beginners. And SouJava always focused on the professional people that were actually in the industry and solving problems. And both groups were very, very successful, right? And we're solving different problems, and because of that, we're focus on different things. So I think for the same thing for your career, right? So once you focus on a specific problem, right, you're gonna be known for that, and that is amazing.
It's very nice that you go back to the JUG, because this podcast started with SouJava. What are the plans for SouJava for the future? Do you have new ideas? Did you really completely recover after COVID? Are you back to normal? What are the plans for the next months and the rest of 2023?
So what do you think, Max? Are we back to normal?
We are trying to get a start to come to be the normal, the new normal, because it's a new normal.
Yes.
So we cannot to go back to the past. We need to focus on the new thing. So, well, we are trying to create a new initiatives to engage the community. I think this is the biggest challenge that we got in most of JUGs. It is to get more people involved on the community. Today, I saw many people spread on the world because, well, we are on the internet, we are remotely working, so it's very hard to get everything together again. I saw some movements down here, especially in São Paulo city. I saw some groups trying to organize themselves to giving talks, to give meetups, so something like that. I think that we are focused on this kind of movement. We are renovate our website. We are trying to organize more initiatives. Like, for example, today we got collab time meetings in our Discord server, and trying to bring people to talking to and share knowledge on there, trying to engage those people. In the last month, I was able to create an open source project and hold it under the SouJava JUG, trying to bring new people to getting started to contribute to open source using this kind of way that I discovered through those years to improve my career. Why not to do that? And that SouJava gave me a lot of support to do that. And I think this is the way that we are trying to reach out our goals. I think that is the most challenging thing that we need to facing on today.
We always want to do more things, right? And so one of the things that we want to do is actually make it easier for people to come in with new ideas and participate and get involved, right? I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have with user groups is how hard it is for you to join in and participate, right? Because lots of things are in people's mind, right? So they have this idea what they're gonna do, how things work, and it's common that many user groups you don't have like a page that says, okay, come here and help us with that, right? So a lot of ways for you to get involved is just kind of be there, right? And Max mentioned Rodrigo Graciano, for example, and he has an interesting story on how he got started with user groups by, he kept saying, I'm here to help, I'm here to help, I'm here to help. And then one day, the guy that was receiving people in the lobby was on vacation. Someone said, yeah, can you go down to the lobby and receive people there, right? So, and then you can think about, man, I'm a developer, right? I can do so many things. Why I'm going to go down to the lobby to receive people, right? And that's how you get started, right? So the thing that I like to say is that, if someone comes to your house, and say, oh yes, I'm going to stay here for a few days, and oh, that's good to have you here. And then you start saying, you know what, your house is a little dirty, and the furniture is in the wrong place, right? So how about let me move this sofa to this other place here. I think that's going to be better. And you know what, you're using the room the wrong way. I'm going to switch your room with the kids' room because I think that's going to be better for everyone, right? So what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to kick this person out, right? You don't want that person in your house telling you how to live, right? And that's the same thing. But if someone comes to your house and they say, look, I'm here to help, right? So what can I do? Can I go wash the dishes, right? That's something everyone needs, and no one likes to do anyway, right? So can I go wash the dishes? And then you do that thing that no one wants to do, right? That works very well in user groups. That works very well in open source, right? You go do the thing that no one wants to do. And the moment you start doing this, people say, man, you can do more interesting things for us, right? So why are you washing the dishes? There's a machine that does that, right? Maybe help me move the sofa, right? And then they will invite you to do the important things. But if you want to do and you're going to tell people what to do, then you're not going to make lots of friends, right? So, and I think that's our challenge right now in terms of our next steps, is how we can get people to participate more. I think that the biggest problem that user groups all over the world are dealing with is getting people back into the in-person meetings, right? Because as Max said, it's the new normal, right? So everything is streamed, everything is online, right? So it's a lot harder for the person to say, oh man, it's just gonna be online anyway, right? Why am I gonna have to get in my car and drive there and and meet people and all that, right? So I can just watch from home. And that is a false how do I say this? It's a false sense of I can just do it from home, right? Because the reality is the things that you can do to improve your career, you can't do it from home, right? You have to go there and meet people, right? You have to be visible. People have to see you, right? I think that the online world makes it less force us last to go visit people in person. And at the same time, we don't see how much we're missing by not doing it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's our responsibility as user group leaders, as user group managers and community managers, to not fall to this, to prey to this idea. Oh yes, it's so much easier. I can reach more people online, so I don't have to do it in person, right? I can just do it online. So I think that it's our responsibility. So that's SouJava's responsibility to go visit people, to go meet them in person, actually to go where they are, right? That's why we did this 30 place that we visit. That's why me and Otavio are going to travel around Europe next month, right? Because we got to go to where people are, right? And probably this is the biggest challenge that SouJava is facing right now, is how we do that, how we can get more people going where the audience is, so they're willing to come and see us in person.
Yes, again, the challenge is the balance. I mean, okay, you need to explore the power of the online. It's a powerful resource. Look at us right now, people from Brazil, Europe. We're able to connect easily. However, the human touch still matters. I usually say that my first mistake when I decided to go to computer engineering was the reason. Because I decided to go to university because I did not enjoy to have people conversation. So I will do computer engineering because I will handle more with machine than human. And guess what? That was my first mistake, especially because I do software with people, to people, through people, and around people, and to impact people. There is no way to avoid people on that occupation. Okay, I should choose another area. But anyway, let's try to find a time of travel machine, stuff like that. But the point is, the conference has a unique experience to go there to ask questions directly, to make contact. I mean, I met Bruno Souza because of conference. I mean, a good friend between us knew Bruno Souza, know Bruno Souza, Serge, and he said, "Hey, man, you are so engaged with the community. I should introduce you to a person who is amazing." And it was Bruno Souza. And I just got that not only because okay at that time we did not have like a huge amount of online, but anyway, I got that because I was there. I got the opportunity, and the luck in majority way is when the opportunity finds one prepared person. So be there is an amazing place to go, increase your network, and perhaps your new boss, your new colleague, or your new partner might be in conference like that.
Yeah, I fully agree. That's what I learned from the previous podcast we had with JUGs is it's not about the talks at the JUG. It's about meeting people and having a drink afterwards and talking to someone and discussing an idea or a problem and then finding people who join you to solve something. Okay, we handled a lot. A lot we have learned again. Thank you all for your ideas and sharing your experience. Is there one thing you want to add, each of you?
Well, I'd like to thank Igor de Souza, because Igor de Souza was the bridge between me and Frank. I think Igor is a special one that mentioned about me and mentioned about Frank, and giving us an opportunity to talking together. And I'd like to thank you, the whole Foojay team, because I learned a lot with those things. We have been looking how Foojay works, and we think that it fits a lot with SouJava blog, with SouJava website. So we are trying to use the same formula, because I believe that it's fits a lot with the Java developers around the world. So we are focused on the help the people. That's the reason why I'm moving to open source. It's my purpose. My purpose is to help developers, and it's not of course I like to work and make money, but we got purpose more than that. Okay, so I'd like also to mention a little story about my father-in-law. My father-in-law, he brings me a little question. Max, how can I open a YouTube channel? And I asked him, why do you want to open a YouTube channel? And he said to me, "Oh, Max, I'm a Met former. I used to learn and study a lot of things, but everything is wrote on this notebook. And when I pass away, it will comes with me in my cemetery." And I'd like to share this thing to the people. If I help one only person, it will make my day. And it's changed the way that I saw my career, and it's changed the way that I can help the people. And that's the reason why I'm focused on the community. I focus on help the people. I focus on help the community, and that's the reason why I'm joined to the SouJava. And I hope that this story inspires anyone around the world to pay attention to help the people, because it's all about the people. Community is about the people. Am I right? So that's the thing that I believe. I'm a developer advocate at Zoop Innovation, and I'm an advocate for a special product called StackSpot. So if you want to learn more about that, feel free to hit me out in my social media. I think Frank will put those things in a podcast page, so feel free to reach me out, and I will be glad to talk more about Java stuff, community jug, and my work as well. So thanks again, Frank. Thanks again.
With pleasure. Otavio.
Okay, so thank you, Frank. It's amazing to be here with more Brazilian friends. I guess this entire podcast was my homesick. That's have been a while that I did not go to Brazil. I will be around in open source world, mostly around Java and cloud native. So if you want to build a feature instead of waiting for, join me in several open source projects around software engineering. And right now, I'm launching a new product. The idea is to help software engineer to reach the ultimate stage of sophistication, exploring the best practice of open source in your life. So it's an amazing idea to move your career to the next level. If you want to know more, so please follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube as Otavio Java.
So thanks, Frank, a lot for not only for this conversation here, but for doing this with lots of user groups, right? I think that, having many user groups being more visible and attracting people, I think that's such an important thing for all of our community. I think that we are in a very important moment where Java is growing, has lots of new features and new in involvement, and Java is evolving a lot. And I think that's a very important moment for us to strengthen that community. So thanks a lot for that. Thanks for Foojay, right? Because you guys are doing exactly this work, right? Of building the community, reaching out to people, making it easy for people to start with Java and be interested in Java. And I think that's such an important thing. I think that the Java community is such a wide community with so many different players. And it's awesome to have a place where we can all meet as a community. So that's great. And if you guys are listening here, I'd like to give a little gift, right? So one of the things that we talk a lot about here about us career and how to participate in open source, how to do all that. And the thing that I see that people struggle, lots of developers tell me that, yes, I want to do this. I want to be, I want to speak, give a talk. I want to participate in open source. I want to learn new technology. I want to do this. And the thing that I see a lot is that we don't know why we're going to do this. We don't know the focus on how to do that. So I wrote this little book called The Best Developer Year to help you have the best year of your developer career, right? So, and it's free, right? So I'm going to ask Frank to put a link on the podcast here so you can download that book. And when you download the book, two things are going to happen, right? So you're going to get an email from me with the book, right? So you're going to have the book there for you. The second thing is that you're going to get an email from me with the book. So if you have any problems, if you want to grow your career, if you want to build a user group in your city, if you want help from SouJava, just reply to that email and say, hey, Bruno, I need help. And I'm going to help you do the next step of your career. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Otavio. Thanks, Max. It was great to have you to be here with you guys.
Thank you all three. And the story about Foojay, Foojay is just a vehicle. It's there. It's the community who actually builds it. The idea of this podcast was an idea by Geert-Jan. He said, you should talk to the JUGs and tell about how they work, where you can find them. That's what we're doing. But actually, it's the Java community. It's all these amazing people who post their articles on there and who build all this amazing content. So thank you back to everyone of you for sharing your ideas here, also for sharing your content on Foojay. Okay, thanks for listening. It was again a great session. I definitely learned a lot. I hope the same for you. Keep an eye on Foojay for future articles about development and everything related to the Java world. Thanks.
Give me a foo, give me a J, give me the friends of OpenJDK.